Hello everyone, welcome back to another Roman Vacations Tiny Tour Tuesday. This is number 8. We are doing part 2 of the Jewish Ghetto today. Thank you all for joining us again. I am going to be doing your tiny tour today. You're stuck with me, but it will be fun. So here we go. We are going to start with what is behind me over there. You can only see a piece of it right now. There's a better view on the other side, but for logistics sake, and tiny tour sake, we are over in this area today. That is Teatro Marcello, and this theater was started by Julius Caesar, actually, as kind of a rival to the Theater of Pompey in a different part of the city, about a few hundred meters away. And Julius Caesar passed away was assassinated before he could finish that theater. So his adopted son and great nephew Augustus finished this theater for him, and it was dedicated in 13 BC for Marcellus, Augustus's nephew, son of Octavia, who was his sister, Augustus's sister. So Marcellus unfortunately passed away at the age of 19 in 23 BC, and 10 years later, Augustus dedicated this theater to him. The theater was used about 15,000 people capacity, roughly, and it was used up until pretty well through the 4th century BC, into the 5th, possibly, but definitely through the 4th. And after that, in the Middle Ages, it became a fortress, so 11th century, 12th century. And then in the 16th century, the Savelli family built their palace and incorporated some of the ruins of the theater into their palace. And then in the 18th century, the Orsini family purchased this. And now, if you can see, I think you can, if I do good camera work and point my finger right there, you'll see some of the remnants from when it was a fortress, when it became a palace, and now those are apartments. So if you're really lucky, you can live in a 2,000-year-old theater as your home. So this whole complex is part of ancient Rome. It's kind of the entry to the Jewish Ghetto area. So I'm going to kind of scooch around over here, and we're going to talk about Portico of Octavia, because this, is the Portico is what we see now is the entryway. It would have contained two libraries, one Latin, one Greek. It would have also contained some temples, two temples, one to Jupiter, one to Juno. And it would have also, let me get some good camera work going. There we go. Okay. It would have also been kind of like an open air art museum for some sculpture. So this again is built around the same time as the Theater of Marcellus in about 25 BC. Augustus' sister Octavia, because Augustus's name was originally Octavian. The Romans weren't very creative with their naming of their children. Everyone pretty much had a family name. Basically, women aren't allowed to have triumphs, so you can't build them a triumphal arch. So Augustus wanted to make sure that he honored his sister and built her this portico, which this is only the entryway. Again, it would have been quite a large complex. There was a fire here in 191 AD, which then the entire structure that we see remaining would have been restored and rebuilt by Septimus Severus around 200 to 203 AD. It also, in the Middle Ages, became a fish market. So down here, there's a slab. I'm going to point here. You can see the stone. Becca, if you want to tell me, you can see that again too. This is where they used to cut the fish. So in the late antiquity and early Middle Ages, throughout up until about the 18th century, this was a fish market. We even have the church entry over here, which is for Sant'Angelo della Pescaria, and they used some of this portico in the construction of that church. The magistrates used to use that stone to cut their fish, and you would get the magistrates from the head to the first fin, as long as it was bigger than that stone, and then everyone else would get what remained. So we're gonna move around a little bit more, and I'm going to bring you back to where I was standing earlier. Down this street where Mircea ended his tour last week, down that street, this is one of the main streets in the ghetto, and you're going to see quite a lot of restaurants here. So you have the Jewish community in this area having their own culinary traditions, their own cultural traditions, and they even had their own dialect, which actually remains today, where the Christian one died out and we don't really use it. The culinary traditions, couple of things. One, they had to figure out how they're going to have your classic Italian dishes like carbonara and amatriciana, which generally have pork in them with the guanciale. How you can create those without pork. So they would use some beef. Also, oxtail became a big thing here, so you can get a really good pasta with oxtail sauce. When other richer communities were using the beef for the steaks, the remainder would be the oxtail, and the richer communities just thought, oh, this is too shabby for us, so they would throw it away, and the Jewish community would make the best of it. So now you get the delicious oxtail pasta sauces. One thing I forgot, sorry, is the artichokes, the carciofi alla Judea. Now, some say alla Judea, some say alla Judea. The right pronunciation is probably alla Judea, but we get corrected at restaurants quite a lot. And they are the fried artichokes, so they are absolutely delicious. If you're going to come to Rome, they have a carciofi alla Romana, which are good and yummy, but carciofi alla Judea are just really good. You eat the whole artichoke here. So for you Americans who aren't used to that, because we have a different species of artichoke, don't be afraid. Eat the whole thing. It's awesome. So behind me now, I'm not going to bring you into the sun because otherwise I'll be squinting. There is this museum, From Italy to Auschwitz. This museum just opened about a year and a half ago. And it is free. There is a donation box. So we really encourage everyone that wants to visit this museum to donate. And it tells the story of the Italian Jewish community that after the raid of October 16th, 1943, they were shipped off to different camps throughout Italy, northern Italy, and then obviously on to Auschwitz. So you can go in there. It's mostly in Italian, the descriptions and things, but there's quite a lot of images, and it's very powerful, moving. So it's definitely one of the things you want to see when you come into this neighborhood. And finally, last but very certainly not least, I'm going to spin you around very carefully and show you the synagogue. You're gonna look right at my nose. There we go. So now the synagogue is the third largest in Europe. It is the only square dome in Rome, so that's easy to recognize that. And we've got someone very excited to come see it. It's an aluminum dome. This synagogue was built in 1901. It was inaugurated in 1904. There is a museum inside, so you can go inside for 11 euros. We can help you get tickets. You can buy them online. You can, I think, rock up at the door, but online is always a better option. And you can see then the synagogue itself and the museum. They have their own tour guides. And it's a really lovely place to check out the history of the Jewish community here in Rome and visit that synagogue. I'm going to wrap this up, but in the meantime, we hope you come visit the Ghetto neighborhood. We have a tour here that's really great, and we really, really enjoy showing everyone this neighborhood. And we look forward to you seeing this on YouTube. Please like and share these around, guys. We really appreciate it. We're working on building this platform a lot more. So tune in to the next Tiny Tour next Tuesday. 2 Tuesdays. 2 weeks from Tuesday. Bye, James. Have a great tour. So, Rebecca, you can see it. Yay. The apartments. So, thanks, Becca. I'm trying my best with the pointing. Are you counting up or down? And if anybody has any questions, now would be the time. I'm sure I can ramble on for a couple more minutes if I need to.